Hi, so I'm Monica Rinell, and I'm a college advisor in the College of Letters and Science, and thank you for joining us tonight for with our campus partners, EOP, for our Reach for Success live webcast. So a little bit about today and how it's going to work. We encourage you to text in your questions. There's a number below, and afterwards if you could fill out the survey. Also, if you could send in your student ID, we'll go ahead and give you credit for attending a workshop to help you excel in your academics. So tonight it's going to be me, and some of our campus partners are going to join us later for some more information on resources at Cal. But a little bit tonight is going to be about just defining academic probation. What does it mean? Also, how do you clear academic probation? Are there certain conditions that apply to you? If there's any limitations? Also, we're going to talk a little bit about what your schedule should look like. What's the best schedule for success when you've been placed on academic probation? And then we're going to have our campus partners, our EOP advisors, join us to go over all the resources that you have access to. So we're going to try to make this as general and comprehensive as possible, but as always, we just want this to be a beginning step for you so you can come in and meet with us, whether it's your EOP advisor, your DSP advisor, your major advisor, or your LNS advisor. So that's a little bit about what we're kind of going to look like tonight.
Can I jump in,
yeah.
Monica? So I welcome everybody. So I'm one of those EOP folks. We already actually have questions rolling in terms of text. A lot of people texting in their SIDs, which I think is what we want, but we're encouraging those folks to also text in questions. We have a few already, and I think once we get done with this overview, we'll dive right into those questions. So please keep them coming. And you will see the number to text right at the bottom of the screen.
Yes, text our questions. That's why we're here, to kind of get your questions answered. So the first thing I want to say about academic difficulty and probation is that it's very common. We have a lot of students on this university who, at some point or another, end up on academic probation. And this is just one bump in the road. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful or have the academic journey you want. It just means it's going to look a little bit differently. We have plenty of students who go on from academic probation to become honor students. They get great jobs, they go into grad school, you can do everything that you want. This is just one little bump in the road. The main thing is to address these issues early so we can see what happened, whether it was a personal issue, an academic planning issue, you weren't getting the right resources. There's all kinds of reasons people end up on academic probation, but it's more common than you think. And that's one of the reasons we do this webcast, is to create a safe space for you guys. But just know that even though your last semester didn't go the way you planned, isn't reflective of you or your journey forward here at Cal. So we just want to say that. And really, everyone on this webcast tonight is here to help you so that you can get off of probation, pursue the major that you love and be successful with whatever success looks like to you. So that's a little bit. So I guess we're going to start. I have a first slide about the definitions of probation. So there's actually two different types of probation. And this is important to know because the probation you and your friend may be on might be different from one another, and that's why it's so important to get individual advising. So the first type of probation is 2.0 academic probation, and this occurs when your overall GPA falls below 2.0 at the end of a fall or spring term. The second type of probation is a little bit different, and that's called 1.5 term probation, and this also occurs within a fall or a spring, and it's when your term, so your fall grades, fell below a 1.5. So in this second scenario, your overall GPA is still above a 2.0, but you had one term where you just really struggled. And the college is a little bit, we're concerned. We're kind of like, hey, what went on? This was a student who was doing really well. So those are the two different types of probation. So the next slide that we have is a slide on how to clear probation. And so for our 2.0 academic overall probation students, what you guys need to do is you need to raise your cumulative GPA to at least a 2.0 by the end of the term. So for those of you who've been placed on probation as a result of your fall grades, this spring term while you're enrolled at Cal, we want you to increase your GPA, which means you probably need to meet with your EOP advisor or your letters and science advisor to figure out what grades you need to hit that 2.0 and raise your overall GPA. Sorry, I don't have your transcript in front of me, so that's why I'm making these little hand gestures. And so for our 1.5 probation students, you just need to achieve a minimum of a 2.0 term GPA in this semester of spring. So what we're looking for you guys who had one rough semester is C's or better. We're looking for you to kind of, hit that minimum and really excel and turn around whatever was going on. All right, so you guys just saw the condition slide, so I'm going to go over it a little bit with you in more depth. So the conditions of academic probation are as follows. All courses must be taken for a letter grade unless the course is offered on a no pass basis. So basically, for instance, if in your 13 units this term, you opt to take a decal, that's totally fine when you're on probation because decals only offer pass, no pass. But if you're taking a breadth course and a major course, those have to be taken for a letter grade. This is really important for you to remember because unfortunately, Telebears isn't a sophisticated system, so even if you opt to change it to pass, no pass, your probationary status will result in the registrar changing it to a letter grade for you. So really kind of keep in mind that everything needs to be taken for a letter grade this term. Also, you need to be enrolled in a minimum of 13 units unless you've been granted approval by a college advisor. So for instance, if you're on probation and you're a student parent, you're a student who works, you're a student who's on DSP, we'll continue to accommodate you. There's no need to jump up to 13 units. If you fell into one of these categories before and you weren't using your reduced study list, maybe that's part of the reason you're on probation. So we do want you to come in and talk about what's the appropriate unit load. Also, if you qualify for a reduced study list, you still need to turn in all of those papers and forms in a timely fashion to the office so we can accommodate you and get you in a schedule that's a good fit for you. But if you don't fall into those categories, we were looking for you to have the minimum of 13. And last but not least, summer sessions grades cannot be used to clear academic probation. But your grades earned do impact your GPA deficit if you're on overall 2.0 probation. So it's a little bit tricky here, and you might need to touch base with your EOP or your LNS advisor about this, but summer isn't considered a true term. So your summer grades won't put you on probation. Sometimes they can help your overall GPA, but they also can hurt your deficit if you do poorly. So really it's critical to know that the only way you can be cleared from probation is with a fall term or a spring term here at UC Berkeley. So next I'm going to have us go to the deadline sheet so you can kind of take a quick look at all of the deadlines. Oh, and there's sound, so, which I didn't realize. So the deadline sheet is just, print this up, take a screenshot. Also, FYI, at the bottom of this webcast, you can scroll down and you can download all these slides. So I super encourage you to do so. So print out your deadline sheet, put it on your fridge, enter it into your Google Calendar, whatever you need to do to kind of stay on top of those deadlines. These are critical in terms of your performance. So you'll kind of notice that right now the first deadline that's upcoming is for our early drop deadline courses. We want to make sure that your schedule is adjusted. If you're in an early drop deadline course and you're on probation, really keep in mind if this is going to be the best fit for you. If you haven't had a chance to talk to anyone, we offer same-day 15-minute appointments, and you can actually log on to eop.berkeley.edu every day at 9 a.m. and we'll release same-day 15 appointments from that webpage. That listing is also on our deadline sheet, so go ahead, do that. You can also touch base with any of your advisors about if this is a good course fit. Next, you're going to have your 5th week deadline, and we want to have your classes solidified by then. Ideally, we won't have you adding or dropping anything past the 3rd week, so really now's the time to kind of solidify your schedule. You can kind of go ahead and see all the other deadlines. The most pertinent is withdrawing. You are still eligible to withdraw while you're on probation. However, keep in mind that if you withdraw prior to the deadline, you're eligible to come back as early as fall. But know that you will return on probation. After the deadline, you may be subject to the semester out rule. Now, these are the types of things I don't want to get into too much detail because if you do feel the need to withdraw, we really want you to be meeting one-on-one with a college advisor and your EOP and DSP advisor to figure out what's the best scenario for you. But a lot of students do sometimes withdraw, especially if the issue that caused you to go on to probation is still continuing. It's a very valid thing to kind of consider what are the pros and cons and if withdrawing is the best fit for you. We also have the pass, no pass deadline on there, but that isn't applicable to you, so kind of just put that out of your mind for now. So moving on, I do want to talk a little bit more about your plans to clear probation. And I think that we can address this through most of your questions, but what we want to think about is, factors that contributed to your academic difficulty. Kind of how did you end up in this situation? Were your courses not a good fit? Is your majors not a good fit? Were you working too many hours? What kind of things like that can we do to kind of create success for you moving forward in spring? Also, is your schedule balanced? Are you in a schedule that's going to allow you to be successful? What are the pros of being in 13 units versus 15 units? And kind of what combination of courses have you selected to allow yourself to succeed? We can talk a little bit about how repeats can increase your GPA and kind of help you come off probation in a quicker manner. But we also want to talk about the pros and cons and whether or not you're ready to repeat a course. We can touch base a little bit as well about incompletes if you guys want to send in those questions. And that's a little bit of kind of what we're looking for to help you in terms of your plans to clear probation. I think we might have a question.
Hi everyone, so my name is Mitzi. I'm one of the counselors with EOP.
And my name is Yuki. I'm also an academic counselor in EOP.
So we want to start off with one of the first questions that we received from Monica. And the question is, I was enrolled in Math 10A but didn't do so well. This semester I'm taking Math 1A. Will Math 10A be replaced by Math 1A?
This is a really good question. I actually don't have my little cheat sheet on it. In terms of this, I would probably actually encourage you to meet with a college advisor to kind of discuss the repeat rule. You're only going to get partial credit for the 1 series in terms of the repeating of your 10A sequencing. Also, the content is a little bit different, so if you think that the 1 is going to be a better fit moving forward and you plan on taking 1B in the summer or in the fall, that's going to impact your academic programming. I know the Math 10A is a rough situation, and there's several of you who probably are on probation who took this course. The difficulty with Math 10A is it's only offered in the fall, and because everyone's situation is a little bit different with regards to that, I would probably encourage you to come on in for a one-on-one advising appointment. Now, typically when you repeat a partial series, so for instance, someone going from 16 to the 1 series, you're only going to actually earn 2 units. You'll earn 2 new units, and then 2 units are considered repeat units. Now for the 10 series, I'm actually going to have one of our advisors who's on standby go ahead into the guide and look up for me whether or not that the 1 and the 10, what their actual repeat breakdown is. So you can actually find all of this on guide.berkeley.edu. You can always look up the course you're currently in and click the plus button to expand it, and it'll tell you the repeat rules. But for the 1 series and the 10 series, there is, I know from 16 to 10, there's actually no overlap. The content is considered completely different. But for 1 and 10, Paige, do we have a lookup on that?
Yeah, 2 units for 10A after taking 1A.
So basically, you're only going to get 2 units that are considered repeat credit, and then 2 units will be considered new content. So if you, for instance, got an F in the course, you know, there'll be 2 new units of grade points and only 2 new units of repeat. So you're going to want to talk about that with your advisor in terms of strategically, A, if that makes the most sense in terms of your GPA, and B, if you're really prepared to go into the 1 series. I'm really sorry, there's a sign back there and I don't have my glasses on.
Okay, so we have a new question coming in. The question is, I was placed on 1.5 term probation, but I have an overall GPA of 2.00. Am I still considered to be on 2.0 term probation? So I think Yuki's going to answer this one.
So that's actually a great question. A lot of students can get confused in terms of the differences between cumulative probation and then also term probation. So like Monica said earlier, academic probation for the term is when a student gets a 1.5 or below. So for this semester, you would still be on academic term probation. And one of the conditions to clear that is to raise your term probation, so for the spring, to a 2.0 or above. So there's different ways where students can be on term probation even if they have a cumulative GPA of 2.0 or above.
So we're going to look through, and there's a lot of questions coming in right now as well. There's a lot of folks sending in SID numbers, and we welcome them or encourage them to send in their questions as well. But let's pull from another question. So I'm going to pull one up for Yuki and Mitzi. We have one related to financial aid.
So here's another question for you, Monica. One student says that they lost all financial aid this semester because I'm on academic probation. If I clear the 2.0 mark, will I be able to receive financial aid again for fall 2015?
So If we're talking about clearing the 2.0, this is a student who I'm assuming that you're most likely on overall probation. And so the only way to clear that is to come in and meet with your college advisor and determine, do you need to get B's or better in every course, or will a combination of, 2 C's and 2 B's clear you from probation? The second step would be to follow up with your financial aid advisor to talk a little bit about it. Unfortunately, with financial aid, a lot of times it's not automatic, and you still will have to fill out a SAP appeal to appeal for your financial aid moving forward. We do want to meet with you as you submit your SAP appeal and kind of talk to you about that, because it is your contract with financial aid. So in the past, if you've put that you're going to planning on taking 13 units and 6 units over the summer, that's something that we're going to want to touch base on and make sure that the SAP appeal you turn in is realistic and feasible given your situation. But we do want you to meet one-on-one with your financial aid advisor, just because everyone's aid is a little bit different, and so that's why it's so important to get advising from that office as well. But in terms of clearing probation, start with our office first. Let's see where you're at. Let's see what you need to do to clear probation. And once you're armed with that information, go into financial aid and we can kind of move forward from there.
Okay, Monica, we have another question for you coming in. So a student took a class the first time and got a D, and the second time they got an F, and they're kind of confused of what it looks like on their transcript. So could you explain this a bit more?
So the UC Berkeley transcript, unfortunately, is not the most friendly looking transcript. And you're always welcome to print a copy of your Bearfax or come into our office and we'll print a copy and go over your transcript with you if you're uncertain about anything or have any errors. Now, there's going to be a couple of different codes. There'll be a code next to your D indicating that you repeated the course. The second grade is what's going to affect your GPA and what's basically the permanent grade going into your overall GPA, provided it's within the first 12 units of repeats. Now, repeats can get a little bit of confusing because on this campus, you're permitted 12 units maximum of repeating. And what that basically means is you can retake a course once, and the second grade is what will count within your overall GPA. However, you're only permitted to do that within 12 units total. The other thing that a lot of students forget is you're actually not permitted to take a course a third time. That's considered an unauthorized repeat. So you're only actually permitted to retake a course once, and it's always the second grade that counts. Now, keeping in mind a third time is considered an unauthorized retake, the college will often permit students to enroll in a course a third time only if they need it for a major, and the major department is supportive of the student taking the course for a third time because they need at least a C or there's some outstanding academic departmental reason. However, we strongly encourage you to talk to your advisors about this. We don't encourage you to take a course for a third time. It's often not worth it. Unfortunately, now the situation you're in is that F is actually the grade that's factored into your GPA. You've lost, the GPA points from the D. So that's kind of a cause for concern. I definitely would want the student to kind of come in so we can look at your transcript a little bit more thoroughly and look at your current schedule to see what we can do to set you up for success.
Okay, so we have another question. So this is a student's first semester on probation, and they have some medical conditions going on. So they've heard about reduced study loads. Could you explain that a bit more?
So we do offer reduced study lists through the college for several categories. Like I mentioned, if you're a student parent and you've been tapped into the Transfer Reentry Student Parent Center, you may have heard about it there, but you also can come talk to us. Keep in mind that we do have advisors, college advisors in Chavez and in DSP. If you're a DSP student, you should have an assigned DSP advisor. You can also get your reduced study list letter from them and bring it to our front desk for approval. And then we also have exceptions for students who basically are working, and they're working quite a few hours, and so they qualify for a reduced study list. Now, typically students who fall under the medical leave, you're going to be with DSP, and a lot of students don't realize that the Disabled Students Program, it covers everything from chronic conditions to someone who broke their leg, to someone who has something that they've been struggling with their entire lives. So it's a really broad category. So I would encourage you to come in and touch base with your Letters and Science advisor as you kind of begin that journey. Sometimes an advisor can work with you to kind of temporarily figure out what a reduced study list would be, but you do need to be working with DSP. We'll also talk about you if taking some time off, given your medical condition, might be a better fit. So if you think you might qualify for a medical reduced study list or a DSP reduced study list, just come into our office. Even for a 15-minute appointment, it's a great place to get started.
All right, thank you, Monica. So we have another question. The questions are rolling in right now. So this question is for you, Mitzi. Can you explain a little bit what is EOP? How do students know if they're eligible for those services, and just some of the things that students can go to for support if they're on academic probation?
Awesome. So we're definitely going to talk about this more later in the webcast, but for now, EOP is Education Opportunity Program. We're located in Chavez, in Cesar Chavez building. So we do offer academic counseling for many of the students are part of the program, and we work with students that are first gen, low income, and historically underrepresented. So any student can go there and get advising either with a drop-in counselor or set up an appointment with the many amazing counselors we have there. You can also come into LNS, and Monica talked a little bit about that earlier about how you can do drop-in counseling or set up an appointment with the counselor there as well.
So we're going to check. We have a couple more questions, so we're going to go back to those and fire them off to you. In addition to the questions, the SID numbers continue to roll in as well. And now we're going to go to another question, and I think Yuki's going to help us out with this one.
So this is another really common question. If I fail the course here at the university, can I retake the course at a junior college to receive credit there for the failed class?
So this is a great question. Now, it's going to depend a little bit on the course. Now, the tricky part with probation, especially if you're on cumulative GPA probation, is that unfortunately if you take a course at a junior college, while you can receive credit to satisfy a BRET, to satisfy possibly a major requirement, unfortunately it won't increase your GPA. The other thing is we kind of consider you're only permitted to take courses at UC Berkeley this term when you're on probation. You wouldn't be approved to take kind of courses elsewhere. And if you withdrew or you're taking the semester off, while it's great that you're taking courses at community college, those courses will not remove your probation status. The only way to come off probation is to take your 13-unit course load here at UC Berkeley, and if you're on 1.5 probation, get C's or better, and if you're on 2.0 overall probation, be in your 13 units or your reduced study list and clear your GPA deficit. And that does vary, so that's a big reason. If you're on 2.0 probation, come in so we can kind of figure out what your deficit looks like and what you need to clear it. However, if you are going to be taking this term off and taking courses at community college, I would encourage you to kind of look on assist.org to kind of make sure that your courses are equivalent, that they're going to transfer back, and they will satisfy credit. However, I would probably encourage you, if you got an F in a course, to just kind of think about it and perhaps wait till you return to Berkeley to take it, because if you do have those 12 units of repeats, you can repeat that course, and if you get a B or better, you're going to see your GPA go up quite a bit. Keeping in mind that if you're away at community college this semester, you're still going to be returning on probation, so we're going to want to find ways to kind of have you excel and come off of probation here. So I hope that was helpful. It was a really broad answer.
Yes, it's all helpful, very helpful. So we've also been getting a lot of questions about math classes right now. So Yuki, you want to talk about maybe some resources to help students that might be taking math for a repeat this semester or might be on probation and decide to take math this semester?
Sure. So here on campus, we have the Student Learning Center, which we hope a lot of you are familiar with. It's located in the Cesar Chavez building right next to the EOP offices pretty conveniently. And there they have drop-in tutoring for math, statistics. They also have math adjunct groups, which you can find on their website if you go to ls-advise.berkeley.edu, and you can look up different math adjunct groups. They're sort of like smaller discussion sections that can support you with the material and kind of help you with test preparation along the way. And the SLC also offers organized study groups that meet regularly, so we definitely encourage folks to check in with the SLC and see different resources and ways they can get supported in some of their math courses here on campus.
So we have another question in, Monica, for you. So the question is, can I retake more than 12 units?
So you can retake more than 12 units, but you're not going to see the benefit of the second grade replacing. It will just become an average. And so really we're going to encourage you to kind of think about whether or not this is in your best benefit, if your major department requires it, and kind of what's causing you to struggle to have so many repeats in the first place. So I would be pretty strategic. I would have a backup course in mind, and I would definitely come in to talk to your advisor about, you know, if you're going to be exceeding your 12 units of repeats, why are you repeating this course and what's the possible benefits of it?
So we're continuing to take more. The text number, for those of you, some people have different connections, but let me read it off to you. 510-479-0374 is the number to text. Again, if you have not sent us your SID number, we do track it to give you credit for participating. please send that in. But more importantly, I think for your questions. So I'm going to send it back over to Mitzi and Yuki. I think we have another question that just came in.
Okay, so here now we have a question about readmission. So the student wants to know, is readmission after withdrawal guaranteed for students who may be on academic probation?
So if this is your first time on academic probation and you've chosen to withdraw or sit out this spring term, you are welcome to readmit. And part of it is there is a readmission application. It's mostly administrative in nature. We also require a $70 check. However, if you're an EOP student, you do qualify for a fee waiver, and they can provide you with one of those. And then you're also required to meet with an advisor. And this is critical to your readmission. The advisor will go over the terms of probation with you. We'll also go over what you're planning on, and that advisor is the one who will actually approve you for readmission if you're on probation. Now, keep in mind that our readmission deadlines are firm, and so for fall students who are wishing to return in the fall, we do need to receive your readmission application, and you need to meet with the advisor by June 1st. However, one of the things I strongly encourage you to do is probably come in and meet with an advisor and submit your packet a little bit closer to early March, late February, just because this will assure you'll get a more appropriate telebears time, and we'll have time to kind of touch base with you and see what there is to go over. So if this is your first time on probation, you're just on either 1.5 or AP probation, your readmission, as long as you've met with and are approved by a college advisor, will be pretty much guaranteed. Now, a college advisor might meet with you and say, you need to take care of these several options or meet with these people prior to approval, so you should be prepared for that. Now, if you are hoping to come back and you were continued on probation, that's a little bit different of a situation. And so for students out there who were continued on probation and have withdrawn, who are in that situation, you need to kind of come in for a one-on-one appointment because those situations are so individual to the student.
Awesome, thanks Monica. We have a lot of great questions coming in, and as we mentioned, please make sure to text in some of your questions and your student ID number as well, so you can get credit for this. So one of the next questions is, can you declare your major while you're on academic probation? Monica?
Yes, you can definitely declare your major while you're on probation, and I would encourage you to do so. Once you declare your major, you might start getting emails from your major advisor. You might qualify for more one-on-one appointments and advising, and more advising is always better. So if you're eligible to declare your major, you're confident it's the right major, you've been doing well in those courses, I would definitely encourage you to meet with your major advisor and get declared in your major. Now keep in mind, the college doesn't declare you. We only declare double majors, and let's not get ahead of ourselves. So go ahead and meet with your major advisor. Most of them do take drop-in advising from 10 to 12 and usually 1 to 3:30. So go ahead and meet with them. And provided that they're willing to declare you while on probation, you should go ahead and move forward. You should also check in with them about your schedule and your long-term program planning.
The other thing that I want to acknowledge is that we, again, not only are we getting questions and SIDs coming in, but actually a lot of students that appreciate what we're doing on our webcast. So thanks, Monica, Yuki, Mitzi, and everybody else who played a role in making this happen. Again, we're going to continue to take questions until 7 o'clock. That number again is 510-479-0374. One question I'm looking at right now, Monica, is someone's just talking about just how rigorous it is to get off of academic probation, and I'm wondering, and I'll ask this to all three of you, just to speak about just kind of, sometimes, you know, there's a lot of stigma attached to being on probation, and it's something that happens to, you know, a good number of students every single term. So just talk a little bit about that, how manageable it is. Yes, you know, it can be a challenge, but it's also something that's very manageable with the right resources.
Yeah, I think that's a great segue into all this, Julie, and I think a lot of students feel sometimes maybe shame or discouragement that comes with academic probation, but we really want to encourage you all that academic probation does not define you, first of all. It doesn't define your success and your academic career here at Cal. Instead, we invite this as an opportunity for you all to come and check in with us, because a lot of times there's different personal things or medical or health concerns that are going on that we understand can maybe pull you away a little bit from your academics. So I think this is actually an opportunity for you to get plugged into some more resources and see how you can collaborate with an academic counselor here in EOP or over in LNS, and kind of build a balanced schedule and something that can be feasible and work for you, and help you, you know, move away from academic probation and hopefully towards success in your time here at Cal.
there anything anybody else wanted to add to that? I know that's a big, it doesn't get talked about a lot in terms of kind of how to deal with probation, but probation not only is something that has to be managed in terms of the GPA and the grades, but also just the way it's felt, the lived experience among all the other responsibilities. So can you speak a little bit about that as well, Monica? Just kind of how not only supporting students in terms of the mechanics of financial aid, but just that other part as well.
I mean, I think listen, you're here at UC Berkeley. You are the best and the brightest. You would have not gotten into this institution if you weren't an extremely bright, successful, hardworking student. So do not let your academic probation status cause you to doubt yourself. A lot of students are on academic probation. We have a handful of students every single term, so you are not alone in this. Although at UC Berkeley there is a culture where students don't want to talk about this and share this with one another. So sometimes just coming in and touching base with your EOP advisor or your LNS advisor once a month, once a week, 2 weeks, whatever you need, we're here for you just to say, man, I kind of can't believe I got in this situation. The rigor of Berkeley, the pressure of Berkeley, and also sometimes you forget you're not only a student. You guys are friends, you're family members, a lot of you work. So there's a lot of things that go in. You're just more than a student. So really we want to support you and kind of figure out what led you astray. In terms of making your academic probation manageable, I think the biggest key piece is getting help and being absolutely honest about what happened. Were you intended to be a computer science major and you find that the classes just aren't interesting, but at the same time you're in these sociology courses and you love them, like your professor recommended you be in an upper division, and maybe it's you don't know how to tell your family that, maybe it's just you haven't been finding the right fit and you need someone to kind of help you a little bit with that. So we kind of want to just help you figure out where exactly your struggle is. Maybe it's personal, maybe it's academic, maybe it's major fit isn't right. But really kind of you just have to know that this is one small bump in your road. Like I said, I've seen students come back from probation, get into a different major, do an honors thesis, and now they're in grad school. So, I mean, really this doesn't define you, as Yuki said. So just kind of keep that in mind, but know that everybody's different. So maybe what helped your one friend get off probation might not help you. So really just know that your situation is unique. And this is one area where everybody is individualized. And maybe your goal is still to get to med school like a million other people on this campus, but know what? Everyone's academic journey to get to med school is going to be different. And that's what's going to make med schools want you, because your story is different. So academic probation is the same thing. Come on in. And it's also okay to get upset. For a lot of students, this might be your first time having academic difficulty, and you're at UC Berkeley, so the curve is really steep. So just know that, even though a lot of people don't talk about it, it's really common. So yeah, you can do it. That's what I would say.
Thanks, Monica. So we have another question kind of related to the topic right now, and I'm going to ask this for you, Mincy. Mm-hmm. What are some different resources or outlets on campus that students can connect with to deal with some of these self-esteem issues they might be experiencing, or just kind of the stigma of being on academic probation?
Right. So as Monica mentioned, this might be something that might feel like uncommon for some people, might feel something that's different, they feel that they don't belong, but there are a lot of students that are on probation, but also this can affect a lot of students with what do they tell their families, what do they tell their friends. They have so much pressure on them knowing that they're Berkeley students, and even when your friends might ask you, are you doing well, students might not know how to respond to that. So your LNS advisor is definitely here for someone you could talk to talk about not just your academic questions, but also your personal questions, kind of talking about balance, time management. Ourselves as EOP advisors, you can come and talk to us about any problems. Sometimes you might need to reflect on even financial aid questions. Should you take out a loan because you're working so many hours? It might affect the amount of work that you're doing, which will affect how you do in your classes. For some students, they might want to see a counselor through the Tank Center. So we'll talk a little bit more about the resources through Tank, but all students, no matter if you have SHIP or you don't, get 5 free sessions through Tank Center. So we definitely recommend, just having someone you can talk to and explain your situation a little bit more, because, this is the being on probation might be more than academic for a lot of students.
So we are, again, maybe about 25 minutes left in the webcast, and we're also running up against a short break. I think we've identified a couple more questions before that break. Let me check. We have a couple more that have come in. And here's one that I think, okay, it's a good one. Okay, I'll pass it back over to Mitzi.
All right, Monica, so a student just texted this in. Is being on academic probation going to affect me graduating on time?
This is a tricky question because it's going to depend how you ended up on academic probation. Now, It's going to depend on what the courses you were taking and what grades you received. Now, a little known fact, if you get a D, that's considered passing. You will receive units and, sorry, I combined units and GPA points together there. You'll receive units and some GPA points if you received a D. So hypothetically, that may keep you on track to graduate with the 120 units minimum that you need to receive your bachelor's. However, if you got an F, you didn't receive any units or credit, that possibly could be a setback. A lot of times students, though, forget that you often have AP units, or perhaps you did summer school prior. And then maybe you're just pursuing the wrong major, so you'll see once you move to a different major, you'll be able to increase units and really excel academically. So we're going to want to take a look at what your plan is individually just to see how feasible it is. Now, the other tricky part is while the college might say a D, you'll receive GPA points and units and still kind of continue on track to graduate, if that's a course for your major department and you're declared in your major, you may still need to retake it because your major may not accept that D grade. Also, you might be able to take a different course, but it varies from major to major. So these are kind of more specific questions that we want you to kind of come in and take a look at your transcript with. And if you're declared in your major and you received that poor grade in a major course, we'd also want you to consult with your major advisor moving forward if that would keep you on track with your major requirements for graduation.
All right, y'all, so thank you so much for the questions so far. We're going to take a really brief 2-minute break. We encourage you to review some of the slides that are listed on the website. Be sure to text in your questions still at 510-479-0374. And we have about 20 minutes left, so make sure you get your questions in.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Reach for Success Live webcast in partnership with EOP and the College of Letters and Science. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We have about 20 minutes left, so make sure that you're sending your questions in. Any questions on academic probation or any policies that you're unsure of, you can text them into 510-479-0374.
And just to reintroduce ourselves, again, my name is Mitzi. I'm a counselor with the Education Opportunity Program.
And my name is Yuki. I'm also an academic counselor in EOP, and we're located in 119 Cesar Chavez.
So what we wanted to do was talk about some of the resources available on campus, not just with our program, but around for all the students that are either on probation or for any other reasons you might have. So we wanted to start off with first what the EOP program is, who qualifies, and some of the resources we offer there.
Sure. So the Educational Opportunity Program, we are an academic counseling unit, and we serve traditionally first-generation college students, meaning that you're the first in your family to attend a university located here in the United States. Or you can also qualify as being a low-income student, meaning that you receive the Pell Grant or the DREAM Act, or students who identify with underrepresented ethnic backgrounds here on campus. So as Mitzi was saying earlier, we offer academic counseling and academic advising, but we're also here to support some of your personal needs, whether you're having roommate issues or you're having maybe some health concerns or concerns back at home. We really want to be here to support you through your academic career here at Cal. We understand that students wear a lot of different roles, right? You might be working part-time or full-time and sending money back at home or being a caretaker for loved ones. So we really just want to make sure that you know that you have a community, a home, and a space to feel supported and really connect you with the different resources on campus that can lead to your academic success here at Cal.
Yeah, so as Yuki mentioned, she gave a lot of the definitions of what EOP student is. So if you're not sure of your EOP, just feel free to come by our office so you can ask, and then we can verify there if you are, so you can start utilizing our resources at that moment. One of the big components that we do offer is academic counseling. So we have ourselves as counselors, there's about 6 of us. We also have 12 peer academic counselors available for all students. In order to meet with any of the counselors or peer academic counselors, we have drop-in counseling every day from 9 to 4, and that also includes from lunch from 12 to 1. We also do appointments, so if you ever want to stop by, do a 30-minute appointment with us, and if it starts with academics, we can definitely talk about that, but we also are open to topics of financial aid. So some students might consider us a one-stop shop. We do have the access to be able to look at your financial aid package, bring up your classes, look at your DARS report to kind of help you navigate and create a balanced schedule, and also take into account other commitments you may have. As Yuki mentioned, you might work, you might have responsibilities back at home. This semester might be different than last semester, so being able to have those real and honest conversations in a safe space, we can really create the best success plan for you to clear your probation.
Mitzi, I think just to tag along to what you were saying right now, I think sometimes when we work with students on academic probation, for a number of reasons, they might not be connected with a lot of resources, whether that's academic support or advising support. So I think people are hearing LNS, people are hearing EOP academic counselors, and I think part of what we want to talk about and part of what I want to ask you about is, how do these things work together? I think it's not about kind of, go to one particular place, and I think one of the things we've done in the spirit of this webcast is to really highlight how we collaborate to help students, and students might be in different spaces or feel first connect in different spaces. Can you just talk a little bit about kind of how we collaborate, particularly when it comes to issues of academic difficulty?
Sure, great question, Julian. So here in EOP and also in LNS, we like to work collaboratively. So again, as Julian was saying, it's not isolated advising units. We want students to feel comfortable to approach different advisors on campus. Sometimes advising can be overwhelming because you notice that you have so many advisors when you first get to campus, but really we're just here again for comfort so that you know that you have different people you can go to build those different relationships and build that trust. So you might go to the College of Letters and Science advisor because you have a specific question to your scheduling or to different academic policies or how to clear academic probation. And that's not to say you can't come to an EOP counselor and ask those same questions, but we want you to know that EOP and LNS and all the other colleges, we work very close together in supporting students. So you don't have to feel like you only have to go to Mitzi or only have to go to Yuki or Monica. Again, it's at the student's leisure and comfort and whatever is most helpful to you in building your academic career here on campus and your personal wellness also.
Mm-hmm.
So I have another question that has just come in, and you talked about resources earlier, and we also know some of these questions, students are watching at different points and maybe tuning in at different times. But this question is in regards to, again, that academic support. So the student wants to know, are there particular places where tutoring for particular classes are offered for students?
That's a great question. So we also have the Student Learning Center, which is located in the Cesar Chavez building where we're located at as well, which offers free tutoring for all students. So many students have walked in there to get tutoring on writing, math, and science. So a lot of it can be drop-in tutoring. Sometimes you can sign up for appointments. When it comes to writing, a lot of students sign up for weekly tutoring, and this is all free of cost for all students. There's also a study space in there for all students. Sometimes there's rooms, sometimes there's tables, so that students can create little study groups with other people in their classes or other students that they meet there in the tutoring services to have that support in the academics.
Also, too, specific to math, they also have math adjunct courses. So a lot of times students like to have an additional discussion section where they meet weekly. They have different assignments and quizzes also, too, to kind of supplement what they're learning in the lecture and their small group discussions. And students have found that to be really helpful. And these Math 98 courses, students actually receive 1 unit for them also, too. So they can be helping build to your 13-unit schedule. Students also like to utilize the Student Learning Center for the organized study groups that they have for chemistry and math and some of the social sciences. And that can be really helpful too for you to connect with other students within your major or department. And again, kind of reinforcing reaching out for support and remembering that you're not the only person who might be struggling or having some difficulty in some of your classes.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about some of the tutoring services, you can go online to the ls-advise.berkeley.edu to learn about when our study groups happening, when our adjuncts happening, and all those different resources available there.
And also, too, if you scroll down a little bit and click the link at the bottom, you also have access to all the slides that we went over today in the webcast, including the 3 final slides on some of the resources that we're going to talk about, too.
So there's other information here in terms of students and the kinds of things they're asking, and I'm going to put a couple things together, I think, of what folks are interested in hearing. But we've been, I think, focused a lot on the academic, right? You know, kind of the grades that have led to academic probation, or we've talked about math for a little bit. But I want to point out that, you know, there's a lot of different reasons that can lead to being on academic probation. Obviously, you know, folks, it was talked about before, you can have something traumatic happen in your life, you can have a health or medical issue. So I guess I want to talk a little bit more, or maybe if you two can share about, it's one thing to be on probation and clear probation, but then how do you manage and build towards having a positive pattern and trajectory of academic performance? Kind of what resources are available to students to help them do that as well?
Right. I think that's a great point also too, that kind of touching on some of the themes we've been talking about, that you don't just wear this one hat and this one role as being a student here on campus. We want to recognize all your different identities and all the different roles that you serve in your life, and really making sure that you're taking care of yourself personally and emotionally. So a lot of times we like to connect students with the counseling and psychological services located at Tang. And students like to take advantage of some of their emotional support groups centered around grief or identity, different topics where you can really connect with other students who have similar experiences. And I think a lot of times there's different stigmas that are associated with counseling or reaching out for therapy, but students have found that to be really helpful in kind of normalizing their experiences and understanding that, wow, you know, I'm not the only person who's going through this experience, and finding support through some of your classmates and people on campus. Over in Cesar Chavez, we actually have a drop-in satellite office for CPS where there's actually drop-in hours, and students can go for an unlimited amount of times to get that ongoing support with a therapist or psychologist from CPS.
So as Yuki mentioned, you know, everyone is a student here, and sometimes you want to make that your first responsibility, but other circumstances might come up. Some might be in your control, some might not be in control, which do affect your grades. And being able to be successful might not always mean just trying to study a lot more, but it might also mean trying to deal with all these other burdens or situations or personal things you might be going through. So as mentioned earlier in the webcast, all students, regardless if they have SHIP or do not, do get 5 free sessions at the Tang Center. So we highly recommend students go to utilize them, and they're already a great service. Sometimes students just need to talk to someone for the very first time, and there's so many different counselors and therapists you can talk there, so you can find someone that matches you culturally, your gender identity, as many different things that you might connect with to find the person that's the best for you.
And we also understand that that might be an uncomfortable or difficult process for students to kind of open up to the idea of reaching out for support. And that's why you have advisors here in LNS and EOP. Many times we like to even just walk students over to the Tang Center and get them connected personally. So please feel free to stop by at any moment if you have some of those concerns or questions. We'd be more than happy to connect you all.
I have another pretty direct and I guess practical question. And it comes from another student. Will my scholarship provider and or parents find out that I am on academic probation?
That's a great question. So for all students here at Cal, you are all considered an adult and all information is only for you. So no one actually has access to your transcripts. So there's nothing that gets sent home with your transcripts, the grade on there. If your scholarship requires a copy of your transcripts because you need to have a certain GPA, you can definitely do that if you need it. But your parents will not be notified about it. If you decide to disclose it with them, that is a conversation you can have with them, but we're also here, all of the counselors, to support you in that conversation.
So we have roughly 10 minutes left in the webcast for folks to get their questions in. So again, we encourage you to call the number 510-479-0374. And wrapping up on the webpage, eop.berkeley.edu/webcast, where this is being viewed now, you have access to a couple different things. Number one, the slides that we've used here today, and some additional resource slides are part of a downloadable PDF that you can click on. There's also a link to a survey, so certainly we want to collect feedback and information to how useful a webcast like this is, and then your feedback in terms of how to even improve it even more so. So that's really valuable to us, and we really hope that you can take advantage of that as well. So we have about 10 minutes left. We'd like to get more questions. A lot of you have texted in, so encourage those of you who've already asked some questions to, if you have another, again, take advantage of this time. And for those of you who've just been watching, and then there's several of you, we've had so far on this webcast about almost 60 viewers, so thank you for tuning in. It's really great, so take advantage of this. I'm going to head back over to Yuki and Mitzi and start giving us maybe some kind of next step thoughts in terms of folks who are currently on probation. Here we are at the beginning of the semester. What kinds of things can students do at this point?
I think one great place to start, again, is come check in with an advisor. If you have questions, again, we're so grateful that you're able to send in some of your questions through this webcast, but we'd really want to sit down and have a personal meeting with you and just get to know you and your story and how we can be of support to you. There's a lot of different support services on campus that Mitzi will talk about and kind of plug you in with a different community that might support you on campus, but checking in with an LNS advisor or EOP advisor just to be clear on how to clear probation and understanding the different types. We really want to make sure that there's no surprises for you on your end, and make sure that you feel comfortable and confident going into this semester.
Right, and be it that it's the second week of school, there's still time to make some changes to your classes. You definitely don't want to wait until the 5th week of school to make shifts in your classes, so please meet with an advisor to get an idea of what class would be best for you. They can also sit down and you can do a GPA calculator to have a better idea of what grades you would need to get in the current classes you have, even if there are repeat courses or not, to look at what clearing your probation will look like, because that's going to be very different for each student. So please meet with them as soon as you can. We also wanted to talk about DSP, which is a resource available as well at Cesar Chavez for students. So DSP is a stable student program. It's a program for all students on campus that they can go if they feel that they have different types of disabilities, be it a chronic disability or maybe a short-term disability that they have that feels that in some ways can affect their academics. So for some students, they need extra support in their classes, such as note-taking or just extra time on exams because of different disabilities they might have. So if this is something you might have been experiencing before and that you think that might be a reason why your grades didn't turn out so well, we highly encourage for you to set up an intake meeting with the DSP program so that you can have an idea and have a conversation with them to see if there's any supports the university can offer to you to make sure your grades are better this semester.
So as we head to the close of the webcast, I have another question that came in and was really asking us, and I'll take a stab at answering this question, but I do want to give you two an opportunity to respond to it as well. If we have things to share about kind of what are some useful things that students in the past who've been on probation have been able to do, or kind of just practices or strategies or things that they changed that we feel linked to helping them clear probation. So I want you two to respond, but let me first say that I think part of the reason that we've actually started this webcast was because every single semester and every year there are hundreds of students who are on probation, but they're not necessarily those same hundreds who are walking into the offices of their college, be it Letters in Science or to other resources like EOP. So I think it starts there. I think that's one practical thing, and not just doing it here, but just have a pattern of getting comfortable with seeking out help and support. Certainly, again, this is a very demanding place, and so to seek those things out, I think, is typical, and I think the students who do the very best here do that as well. I think that's the secret. A lot of things that we're talking about, strategies for students who are on probation, to clear probation, are the same strategies that students who are doing very well here employ themselves. So I would say just kind of reaching out and plugging into those resources. Certainly time management is a huge deal as well. But I want to throw it back. One of the things a lot of folks involved on the webcast here, myself, Yuki, Mitzi, I'm not sure, Monica, if you are we're a student here as well, but maybe even putting ourselves back. Well, we're going to edit that part out. Putting ourselves back in the shoes of being students and kind of, we had friends, some of us ourselves, we're on probation. So again, kind of those are the tangible recommendations or suggestions or changes that folks can make in their approach and behavior that you would recommend.
Right. So as Julie mentioned, many of us here doing the webcast, we were students here at Cal. And I, at least for myself personally, I was on academic probation during my first semester here at Cal. So I really can connect with the students that were here and how they might have felt lonely. They might have felt that they were the only ones. And they were kind of reflecting a lot like what was going on and maybe what was wrong. And wrong might not be the best way to think about the semester, but also more so what can change. And I think that's a lot of the work that we do in LNS does with all the students is we're talking about what can change or what can shift with what's going on. because what was going on before might not work for you. So many students that we see, they used to work a lot when they were in high school or at the community college before they got to Cal, and maybe doing really well in their grades, but also working 40 hours a week worked out well. But now that they're here, this is a whole different ballgame. This is a different campus. So being able to adjust that, and you can always have conversation with us about how financial aid can support you in those different ways to be able to manage either working less or not working, so you can focus more on your grades.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway that I could leave you all with is please just get connected at some resource, whether it's a student or a peer, whether it's a faculty member, whether it's over in CPS. But I think a lot of times I see students really just trying to bear that burden and bear that load on their own. And I think a lot of you are very independent, hardworking, and successful folks, and it was your independence that led you to this pathway here at Cal. But I want to encourage you all to know that even some of the most independent and successful people know how to ask for help in times where they might be struggling or having difficulty, and really just accepting that also too. And that doesn't mean that you're not qualified to be here at Cal, kind of like what Monica was saying. I know sometimes there's questions of doubt and fear that come up of maybe they made a mistake on my application, but really just remembering why you came here in the first place, and remembering all the times that you've been resilient in the past and overcome some obstacles, whether it be academic, life, or personal, and just knowing that you have people here that really care about you, that over in LNS and EOP, we're not here to throw any like trick questions or trick scenarios your way. We really want to see you succeed, and we're really here. There's no judgment in these spaces also too. I think that comes along with some of the shame. So just knowing that we're an open space and a safe space that you all can come to for that support, and really just an ear to listen.
So I think, I'm pulling together a couple different questions, and I want to ask one final question. We still have time, we have about 3 minutes. If people have last minute questions they want to text in, I think we can grab a couple. Before I ask that last question, I also want to acknowledge we have folks who have supported helping make this happen, and one of those folks is a former colleague of ours, Darren Norwood, who I think is tuned in. So thanks. We're going to be sending you the bill for everything we've done here today. Thank you for committing to sponsoring that. But the question has to do with, sometimes, when we talk about academic probation and a semester or a time period where you need to clear, things might not be resolved neatly within a 15-week term or period. So I think what I'm picking from a couple of different questions is, what happens if I do these things and here I am towards late in the semester and it doesn't look like I'm in the situation to clear? So maybe that's a good thing to start wrapping up with, is that particular question.
Yeah. So I think that's also a really common scenario, right? Because it's life, and life happens, and our lives aren't always so neat and clear cut. So again, I think that just goes back to the point of checking in with a counselor, whether it's an EOP or an LNS, so that we can help and support you along the way, rather than having to kind of be more reactionary after the fact. I think there's a lot of ways that we can support you in connecting with different resources, or again, just different policies that might help your situation. But I think first is building that trust and relationship with an advisor and a counselor that you feel that you can just kind of trust with some of the personal or life things that you might be experiencing.
Yeah, and I know that earlier in the webcast, Monica talked a little bit about withdrawal, which for some students does become an option. But before you even consider to withdraw for this semester, we highly suggest you talk to one of the advisors in either LNS or EOP, just so we can get that all resolved and talk about to see if that's actually the best option for you. Just because sometimes it is for some students, sometimes it isn't. And if a student does decide to withdraw, they're also going to be on probation when they decide to return.
Just know that a lot of times when the term academic probation gets thrown out there, I know there's a lot of anxiety and kind of feeling like there's only one option out, or am I going to be dismissed from the university? So we really want to kind of help you all process some of that anxiety and understand that we're here to maximize your options, but we can only do so if you connect with us and come in and stop by. So we really, really encourage you all to either make appointments with us or stop by some of our drop-in hours.
Thank you so much. So we're going to wrap this up. Thank you for joining us. The last few comments that have come in have also expressed appreciation. So remember, this is, again, just the beginning of a strategy. Thanks for tuning in. We plan to outreach and do more of this in the future. The other thing I want to just take a moment to do is, again, thank everybody who was involved with putting this together. That includes Monica and Yuki and Mitzi and Paige. And now I want to ask everybody to actually go in front of the camera so we can wave goodbye to everyone. And we're trying to get Paige to come in front of the camera. Come on, Paige. Monica, we can't see you. You can't see. Everybody needs to squeeze in.
please come in. I know it's
They can't
really
see you.
scary.
You
I
can see
know it's really scary, but please come in. Our deans always believe once a bear, always a bear, and they stand by that statement. So even if, like the last question, you don't think you're going to clear probation, come in, because you will always have options, because no matter what happens, we're determined to help you get your degree from Cal. So I know that can be a scary thing, but check in with your EOP advisors, your LNS advisors, because you always have options. So that's what we're here for.
So thanks everybody. You all now have the last word, the last shot. Paige is with us in the room, even though she did not want to go on screen. So thank you, have a good night, and thanks for joining us.
Go back.